We're reviewing The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. This is part 2 of the review.
Yeah, so I was saying that the book is organised into 3 main sections: the habits of individuals, cue, routine, response, how we actually create habits in the first place. The second part is the habits of successful organisations. So he talks about keystone habits, the power of willpower, and never letting a crisis go to waste, and this whole idea of familiarity, which Ella talked about with the Hey Ya song earlier on. And the third part of the book is about the habits of societies. So he uses a story about Rosa Parks and how she was a member of the community, and even the reason why that galvanized the civil rights movement at the time is because she was involved in she had strong ties and weak ties, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But just on the point that we were making about willpower and why willpower is so important, he says this book is also fantastic for parents, I think, because it gives, and I'll probably let you talk about this a little bit more, but he says it's really important to kind of give your kids structure by giving them either piano lessons and swimming lessons, not because necessarily you want them to become amazing pianists and amazing swimmers, but because it forces this willpower. It forces you to exercise certain things, and that has a trickle-on effect in the rest of your life. What have you taken away from this, from a parent, as a parent? Have you taken anything away?
Yeah, well, that if you get them to do swimming lessons or piano lessons, it teaches them to stick to something. And he says that willpower is like a muscle, and you have to exercise it, and to build the muscle, obviously you have to use it. So if you get them to start sticking with things very early on, then as they go through life, they will learn how to stick with things. Let me check this. And going back to, I guess, the idea that if you are given a task and you have to extol your pressure, you have to extol energy, sorry, not pressure, into sticking with something. If you're used to doing that, you're going to do it much more easily. And I think that's quite an important thing for parents to be aware of, because you don't really think that I need to teach my child, I need to strengthen my child's willpower muscle, because why would you? Yeah, I think it's quite important.
No, yeah, very good point. Also, I wanted to make the point about how Americans started eating organ meats. That was so interesting to me. So again, this whole idea of what you were talking about earlier around building familiarity, around how to get people to use a product or something that's quite new. It's the way to do it is to kind of sandwich it. So you kind of have the first layer of the sandwich, and then you have the cheese, which is the new thing, and then you have the second layer of the sandwich. So when they were playing Hey Ya, to get Hey Ya to be quite popular, what they did is they played a Celine Dion song first, and then they played Hey Ya, and then they played another Celine Dion song or another popular song, whatever. And that's how people started to get familiar with it. And that's the same way that they introduced organ meats into the American diets, because prior to that, people would never eat liver and kidney and heart and that kind of stuff. You don't like it? Really? You don't like it? I love liver.
Oh my God.
You don't like kidney? Steak and kidney pie?
Never.
Steak and kidney pie? Man.
I wouldn't even try it.
Steak and kidney pie is amazing. But yeah, so that's how they started introducing organ meats, is by kind of preparing the meals in a way that made it look like it was normal meats and normal chicken and whatever.
But you not provided the context. It was because of rationing.
Okay.
So the I guess the steaks and the important meats,
because in the war,
meats weren't available.
Yeah.
So what they did is, instead of you having a steak pie, let's put the kidney in and make it a pie, because people recognize pie and they like pie. So kidney in a pie is not just kidney anymore. It's now something that we're used to. And it's very true that, for me anyway, I don't like change. So to introduce something to me personally by letting it seem as though it's something that I already know, I'm already familiar with, I definitely can see how that process works effectively. It wouldn't have me eating kidneys, but I can see how it could work in another context.
Yeah, okay, I see that. And then this last point was really around the habits of societies. So he uses the story of Rosa Parks, and Rosa Parks being kind of the ignition for the civil rights movement. And it was funny because there were so many other people or women at the time who refused to get up when they were told to, because they were sitting in the white, section of the bus. But they didn't spark a civil rights movement, or they didn't spark any kind of movement or uprising. And he says the reason was because when they did it with Rosa Parks, Rosa was part of strong ties. She had strong ties and she had weak ties, and that's really the thing that kind of motivates and galvanizes a community, because it's the social pressure that other people exert on you to say, okay, if I'm going to go on this rally and I know that bloody hell, there's a chance that I'm going to get beaten up by the police when I get there, if I have a community of like other friends and family that are also going, if I don't go, it makes me look bad.
Yeah, well, it's the same principle of accountability, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Rosa Parks was very well known in several different echelons of society.
Yeah.
So rich people knew her, but poor people knew her. The church people knew her, but the university people knew her. Many people knew her. So when she was arrested, and one person called another person and said, "Oh, this happened, we need to go and support her," people were familiar with who she was, and also knew that many other people were familiar with who she was. So if they're all going and supporting her, and we're boycotting the buses, and I go and get on the bus, everybody's going to look down on their nose at me and think that I'm not part of this community. Nobody wants to feel that they're being judged by a community. Nobody wants to be exiled from the community. And they said that's how it really snowballed, simply because of that, and simply by letting people think. So I think one of them, one of the methods that they use is they distributed these leaflets saying the black community has said they are not going on the buses. So then other people in the queues who knew kind of who she was were like, "Oh, no one's getting on the bus, so I can't get on the bus." When actually no one had really even said that, but it was just the idea that everybody else is doing it, so I can't be seen not to do it. If you're somebody that doesn't succumb to peer pressure easily, then I guess that wouldn't work for you. But I think for the most part, people don't want to be seen as weak.
I mean, you can't be the only one on the bus when everyone else is not taking the bus, right?